Okay, next is Carrot. So our new green leader, activate main once per turn. If you have a Mink character, then rest one of your opponent's 5 cost or lower characters. So at first I thought she'd be pretty bad, but her support is actually not bad. I think especially Electrical Luna is a really strong card. 3 costs, all of your opponent's 7 cost or lower characters can't set active. So that's very powerful. But other than that, I think the support that she's been given is pretty decent because there's quite a lot of, I guess, resting and locking effects, and I think the stage especially is really good as well. So we'll cover that really quickly. I think she has quite a bit of potential. The main issue I see is, of course, she will be very bad into black decks. But I think she's a very good anti-aggro deck because of, again, the locking is going to be very strong. Okay, so first we have Dogfish, Dogstorm Inuarashi, 5/6, and then on play, if your leader has the Minx Tribe in their types, then 2 of your opponent's 5 cost or lower rested characters can be set active during their refresh phase. So this card is going to be the star of 088 back battles, I think. It's so powerful because it is like usually 5 costs or lowers are 6k. So on play, this is 4k counter, right? Like up to 4k counter. And if you hit a 5 cost vanilla, it's 5k counter on play. So it's really strong. I think just having this ability to lock 2 is really good. So I'm very excited to see this card. As a RP lore player, I'm not excited to like play against this card. But in my Apex battles, I really hope I pull some of these. Okay, next we have the Carrot SR, which is, again, I guess the main like point of the Carrot deck is just going to be locking your opponent's character so they can't do much on board. And she is a 5 life leader, so that's going to be very powerful. But I think the crazy thing is this card is not locked. So on play and when attacking, one of your opponent's 7 cost or lower rested characters cannot be set active next turn. So locking 7 is pretty strong because this is a 5 cost character, right? Not only that, I saw that there is a restand card for this in OP01 Shishilian, or OP02 Shishilian, where you can restand a 5 cost or lower Mink. So you can use this to attack twice in one turn. And to make the combo even funnier, you can also use Zoro and Sanji to restand this one more time. So you can attack and lock 3 characters with just this one carrot. And it also swings you 6k 3 times or 7k 3 times. So that's pretty crazy. So I think it's a pretty strong card. It has a lot of potential. Again, the issue will be having it stick on the board. But with things like the Zo stage, you can set it active at the end of turn as well, so that will protect it from that. And again, because it's 6k base, it's easier to protect than your leader anyway. So if you have enough hand cards, you can pretty easily protect it still. I think it's a very powerful card. Hitting characters with a cost above your own cost, like above the own character's cost, is pretty rare. So I'm excited to see that they're, I guess, putting more power into some of these cards as well by giving it that option. I think Carrot going to be pretty strong. Okay, next is Consulate. When attacking, up to one of your opponent's 4 cost or lower characters gets locked. So 4 cost or lower, again, it hits a higher cost than itself. So playing this on curve, your opponent of course won't be able to attack with that 4 cost yet. So that's the, I guess, the issue with this. Oh wait, no, sorry. If you play this on curve and your opponent plays a 4 cost, next turn your leader rests the 4 cost and this guy attacks, and that 4 cost gets locked. So that's pretty decent. The 3-4 stat line is not great. So if you play this and then you want to play on curve like 3 into 5, you won't be able to attach Dawn to him. And I need to like review again like if there are any good like 4 costs in the deck, because it seems like most of the good main cards are 5 cost. But that's probably the curve you're looking at. This is a when attacking effect, so it's not too bad, but I think jury is out on whether this card gets a slot in the deck still. Okay, then next we have the new Shishilian. On play, one of your opponent's rested 3 cost or lower characters doesn't get set active during the opponent's refresh phase. So 3/4 just locks a 3. Locks a 3 is pretty decent too. I think the issue with all of these on play effects for Carrot is that her effect is activate main and you must have a main on board. So if your board is empty, like your opponent cleared your board, you can't rest and then after that lock with an on play. You have to play something and then after that you can rest. So it doesn't really synergize on that front. I was really expecting like a 4 cost Ivankov kind of card where you get to play it down and then later activate main and use that card's effect to play down another Mink. So that way that would synergize with that effect. So you play the Ivankov, the quote unquote Ivankov card, and then rest the thing, and then your Ivankov effect plays down one of these like lockers, and then that would be the combo, I guess. But I guess this is a bit more balanced, because if you were able to just lock your opponent's board every turn, I think it would be pretty frustrating to play against as well. But yeah, 3/4, just okay. Next you have Joe. Oh, Giovanni. I guess that makes sense. I translated this as Joe Bunny, but yeah, Giovanni makes sense. So not as one attacking, when attacking, then one of your opponent's 1 cost or lower characters can't be set active. Pretty bad. 1 cost or lower isn't worth locking in general. Like they are probably like 2k power anyway, so you just hit into it, you know. Like yeah, I don't think it's a good card. Next is Tristan. Per my favorite content creator Cardi Kaizoku, eyes looking emoji. Yeah, that's about it. It's a 1 cost vanilla. Okay, moving on. We have the Nekomamushi Cat Viper card. On play, if your opponent has 7 or more rested cards, this character has rush. So of course rested card includes Dawn. But that means this card is unlikely to be rush on curve. So like if you're gonna play this on 5, your opponent has 4 rested Dawn and then probably a rested leader, so that's usually not going to be enough. But you can use this from like 6 or 7 Dawn turn usually. So if your opponent has 5 Dawn rested, and then the leader rested, and then a character rested, then that's exactly 7. So that will give you enough to gain rush. Again, the issue is that you cannot play him down and then rest a card and then it does the check. They have to have 7 rested before it starts the on play check. So yeah, it's going to be a pretty difficult card to play on curve. Unless they already have like your opponent already has like a rested 3 cost or something like that, or they play like a rush character on 5, I guess. But yeah, pretty decent still to have like a generic-ish rush character, and it also has 1k counter, which is pretty rare for rush cards. They tend to be bricks. But the condition is not very hard to fulfill, so that's good. And there's no real counterplay to the condition as well. Like it's not like you can respond to the on play and like restand all of your characters. So yeah, pretty good 5/6 rush. Next we have Pecoms. So Pecoms is a 4 cost 6k power mink, no counter, but his effect is if this character is active, your 3 cost or lower mink tribe characters other than Pecoms cannot be KO'd by effects. So the downside is the character must remain active. So it's only really good if you have the stage, so you can restand him at end of turn. But the good thing is that this is active on both turns. So on your turn, it protects you from triggers, which is nice. So unlike some of the other characters, like I think the 5 cost Luffy from 07 and Pickles, which I think only protect on opponent's turn, this also protects you from like Thunderbolt and like Tempest Kick, Ice Age triggers like that piss me off a lot. But it does have to remain active, so of course you have to attack with it last. And during your opponent's turn, it also has to remain active, so you have to restand it, and it's also weak to, I guess, the mirror, where if in the mirror they just rest the Pecom, suddenly your board is KOable again. But I think it's an interesting effect that they chose to put on him. They made him the 4 cost, they gave him a vanilla stat line, no counter, but of course the downside is you have to keep him active. I think it's a pretty fair like trade. Okay. Next is Pedro. So Pedro is a 4/5 blocker, and then on KO you can choose to either rest one of your opponent's Dawn or KO one of your opponent's rested 6 cost characters. So really good. There's no real way to like, I guess, fully play around it. The only option is like, of course you only swing with all your Dawn rested and you don't have any, like you swing with larger characters first. But with your leader effect is very like, and the rest of your deck also, like it's pretty likely that you will be locking your opponent's cards as rested, so it's going to be pretty easy to have a target for Pedro. And of course resting one of your opponent's Dawn means that they can't play on curve if they try to KO your board too, so that's pretty good. And I'm sure people will definitely forget about it. So 4/5, good stat line, is a blocker, it KOs rested 6 cost characters, it's just all in all a very, very good card. Okay, we have Mr. Miyagi, the goat, the literal goat. On play, one of your 2 cost or lower Minx tribe character. You can set one of your 2 cost or lower Minx tribe characters as active, so you get to restand. So far none of the 2 cost or lower Ming strike characters are good. I guess his assistant Tristan is 1 cost vanilla. But yeah, I wish this hit 3 cost. Like it's 2 cost is too like lousy, you know, like it doesn't, there's no good targets for it. Like it's really really bad. So not gonna make this, not gonna make the cut probably. Okay, next we have Milky, more members of the furry awakener squad. So 2 costs, 2k counter, and then you can activate main, rest this character, then give, if your leader has the Ming's tribe in their traits, then you can set 1 Dawn active. It's not very good. I guess if you use it in combination with the stage, you can protect it, but yeah, it's probably not worth dropping a 2k counter on the board to do that. Sorry guys, there's a mandatory ad break here, so let's all take a quick water break. Fun. Yeah, so far like the Ming support is pretty decent. I think like some of the cards, I think like Pedro, Cat Viper, and especially the Catfish Carrot and Inu Arashi are gonna be really really good. I think Inu Arashi is insane. Like he's a lot of value. Like he really is, and he's a very very strong card. I'm not gonna be surprised if, of course, this is gonna be a 4-off. This is gonna be a 4-off. I think Cat Viper is a 4-off. I'm not sure about this card. I don't think this card gets a slot, but some of the earlier Ming support is pretty good too. Okay, so we just covered Milky. Now it's Rody. So, Rody's effect is on play. If your leader has Ming's tribe and your opponent has 7 or more rested cards, then KO up to one of your opponent's cost 2 or lower rested characters. So, trash. Like, KO cost 2 or lower rested is pretty bad. It's leader lock, so you can't even play this in like Isho or Perona. Like if this was available for Perona, this would actually be really really strong, because you could call this off of Moria, and then that would be pretty good. But you can't, so it's pretty bad. And then again, cost 2, not only cost 2 but also must be rested is pretty bad. Like it's just not really worth playing in my opinion. Okay, next is Wanda, the 1 cost searcher. Top 5, which is pretty good, and then it searches Mings. It doesn't search Wanda, so there is a Wanda in OP02, which I believe plays a Ming from hand, so you're not able to take that card off of this, which is kind of sad, but I guess that's the way they're trying to balance it, or maybe they just forgot that card existed, or they thought it wasn't a worthy enough card to make a slot, but I don't know. I'll just quickly show you the card. Just because I'm curious about what his effect is also, because I forgot. I believe it's also this is a Ming card, which is pretty good. Let me think. What is it? So this is the one where you can restand a Ming. It is 4 cost to restand a Ming, but it restands a 5 cost, which is pretty strong. Okay. Where is this is the Wanda. So this plays a 3 cost or lower Mink other than Wanda from hand. So pretty good. Like it helps you to flood board. But again, 3 cost or lower is pretty weak. So it doesn't have like very good targets. It has like maybe this blocker and that's about it. But yeah. Okay. Where will I? Yeah. So yeah, generic searcher. Doesn't hit that other card, but should still be fine. Okay, next is BB, 2 cost vanilla. Happy monkey boy. I like him. Okay, next. Electric Luna, this card is going to be crazy. Stuns all of your opponent's 7 cost or lower characters. So decks like RP Law and Zoro are gonna hate this card. Very very powerful, and not only that, on trigger it rests any character. So that's also going to be very very powerful. In general, I think this is a very like it's just an insane card. There's no cost to it. Like it's just stun, that's it. Like it's so strong, and 7 cost or lower is crazy, because it's all it's not like 1 or 2. It's not like if it was 2, I think it would be fair. All is insane. against King, for example, right, you can lock, oh wait no, you can't lock the Jack because it's 11 cost, but you can lock like their 6 cost, their 7 cost characters, which they'll be running a lot of, their blocker queens, blocker sabos, anything like that also. Like it's so powerful. Like for a 3 cost event, this is crazy. It's not even leader locked, is the crazy thing too. Like decks like Bonnie can play this card, which is not fair, I think. Okay, next is Gachu. rest one of your own Mings and rest any of your opponent's characters. So it's kind of like Straw Sword, but it hits any, like you have to rest one of your own characters to do it. So arguably Straw Sword is a little bit better than this, but I guess this is fine. Like you can rest your Searcher to rest one of your opponent's characters as well. So having no cost restriction again, pretty crazy. So this is pretty good card for lethal. And then of course the trigger is just draw one card, which is pretty good as well. And then we won't sell our comrades to our enemies. So main, rest two of your own characters, and then your own characters, all of your characters during until the end of your opponent's next turn can't be KO'd by effects, which is pretty strong. I guess the only like real counterplay to this card is RP Luffy playing 10 cost Luffy, and then they can use like 1 cost Robin on the follow-up turn, but other than that, there's no real counterplay to this card. Of course, you do have to rest your own characters, which is, I guess, bad, but the Zou stage, which will probably be the next card, will let you restand one of these characters, which is good. And again, green is a color that has always been plagued by being bad against removal, so this is a pretty good way to play around that, but you do have to, I guess, waste a deck slot on it, and it also reduces the amount of cards you have available to play. I saw someone coping that this card will save RG Law. It probably won't, but if it does, I will be very, very excited. As of now, pretty exciting. I hope we see some of this card being used as counterplay. I think the one issue I foresee still is that green still has no like reliable way to draw and discard cards. So like if you're playing all of these like random events, like you're going to break. Like it's not even like a possibility, it's just you are going to break, and like that's probably why you don't want to run so many events. Like you don't have a Sabo, you don't have a Queen, you don't have cards like that will let you cycle. And I've been praying for one for so long for RG Law purposes as well. But yeah, I think that's probably the biggest like what's the word, issue when it comes to deck building for green and red decks as well, is that there's no like reliable way to cycle cards. Even something like Kaya, where you get to draw 2 and discard 2, or like I guess cycle 2 would be fine too, like bottom deck is fine, would have been great, but you don't have that, so that's a shame. Okay, last is Elephant. Zou, the stage, the island, the walking elephant. Activate main once per turn. Sorry, no. Activate main, you can rest this stage, and then if your leader has the Mink tribe, then you can set one of your Dawn active. So pretty decent. And then at the end of your turn, you can set one of your Mink type character cards active. So this, I think, helps with protecting your board, protecting your hand size as well, so you don't have to counter so hard for like especially the maybe like the 3-4 kind of Minks. This will be a pretty good way to protect them. Of course, it synergizes with Pecoms as well. It sets him active so that his effect is active and protects your board from KO effects too. So that makes this card pretty good in general. I think even if you don't have this stage, it's not make or break. It does make it like playing with 1 extra Dawn every turn is really good. But I mean, it's an investment, right? Like if you get it early and you use it for 3 turns, you get the Dawn back. But if you don't get it early, it's just a dead card. So that's probably the trade-off. So far with all of the green support shown, I think Carrot is a solid like tier 2 leader. I think it has quite a bit of potential, especially if RP Law remains meta. I think this would be a really good like counter pick. It's also probably going to be good into Zoro. The one issue that I can foresee is that it doesn't really have answers to cards above 7 cost. So like if you're playing like 8 costs, which a lot of the decks moving forward will be playing, by the way, of course, Moria, like just without a doubt Moria, Katakuri, 9 cost Big Mom, 9 cost Kaido, like all of these cards are just going to not be affected by any of your cards, which is very, very unfortunate. So that's probably still going to be the biggest issue for it. But other than that, I think it has a lot of potential. It's a very good counter to aggro decks, and I think it will be kind of like a cycle where Carrot beats aggro beats like black and like decks that are too focused on running big characters, and then those decks beat Carrot. So that could be an interesting way for the meta to develop in 08. And I foresee that being maybe the case as well. But I foresee that to be a lot more black and like big cost kind of decks than Carrot for sure.